one final presentation after Ruth's. And you don't need fireflies to see her jacket, so
no,
there you go.
I'm in green for a reason. So thank you for the invite to come and talk to you. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Kimal. I don't know how many of you know Kimal. I'm going to ask you in a second, but just before I start, I work for Kimal and I'm the head of marketing, and I can't go home back to my team without a couple of great pictures for social media. So indulge me for a second. If you're not supposed to be here, duck down. But after 3, 1, 2, 3, super. So, quick show of hands in the room. Who knows what Kimal are, what we do? And it doesn't count if you talk to me at the coffee break. Nobody. Okay, no problem. I'm not offended. I'm not taking it personally. Give me a show of hands if you have used, are familiar with ICG. Yay. Customers of Kimal. For those of you that work in the UK, Kimal are the only licensed distributor of ICG. So if you use ICG, you're a customer of Kimal. So that makes me feel a lot better. I'm not going to talk about ICG. The title is Kimal's Innovation in the West Midlands. Hopefully it's not as boring as that sounds, but I'm not going to talk about ICG. I'm not an expert in HPB surgery. I'm not a surgeon. I'm a nurse many moons ago, but I moved into industry, and somebody asked me this morning why. I got dazzled by the corporate lights, the Monday to Friday, the 9 to 5, no weekends, company car, a laptop, a mobile phone, all the things I didn't have when I was nursing. But now I work for Kimal, and Kimal were founded in 1964, similar story, you know, to a lot of companies, but literally in a garden shed. And at the time, our founder, George Press, had 2 children. I don't know if you can guess what the children were called. It was Kim and it was Alan. Kimal. I felt a bit sorry for Andy, who came along a couple of years later, because he never really got included. But Kimal are based here in the West Midlands, so we have a state-of-art, sorry, they're going on by themselves. A state-of-the-art factory. Are you moving that or am I? I'm going. Can I go back? Don't look, close your eyes. Okay, so Kimal are a manufacturing company based in the West Midlands. Founded in 1964, but really founded on innovation. There was a lot of enthusiasm, there was a lot of desire at the time to do something different and innovate healthcare. We have 2 kind of main sort of segments to our business at the moment. One is procedure pack manufacturing, so it's kind of doing it itself. Not very exciting in the kind of surgical world, high-end robots, but we make packs. But one of the really interesting other areas that we've got is vascular access catheters. And we've taken a standard CVC and we've done something very, very different with it. And if you want to talk about that, we can do that over lunch, but I'm not going to talk about that right now either. I'm going to share with you a couple of examples that Kimal have worked with in the West Midlands. So I was asked to focus on the West Midlands. We don't just cover the West Midlands, we're a global organisation now. And we focus on all of the different countries, but we're still founded here in the West Midlands, and that kind of, you know, is our home and where we like to work. I don't know how many of you are involved in medical device development, but it's not an easy road from kind of conceptual idea to commercialisation. There's a lot of bumps along the way, and a lot of products, as you're not surprised, don't make it. But you can break it down probably into 3 quite distinct areas. So you've got regulatory, you've got the manufacturing bit, how are we going to make it, and then how are we going to sell it? The regulatory hurdle is by far the biggest one to jump. I don't want to bore you before lunch, but anybody that's kind of interested, we're in a transition period at the moment from the Medical Device Directive to the Medical Device Regulation, or MDR. And that's changed how manufacturers will work forever. And one of the biggest changes, and it's great for you guys, is the emphasis on clinical evidence. So it all kind of stems from the breast implant scandal. So people bringing products to market that actually weren't well researched and didn't have demonstrable evidence. So regulatory is something that we can help people with. The passion for innovation isn't just internally at Kimal. We offer our services to anybody, to local businesses, to individual clinicians that want help to bring a product to market. But that regulatory kind of element, if you're trying to go it alone, is by far the most difficult to navigate. Manufacturing, so we can support with manufacturing, so we can make prototypes for you. We can maybe manufacture it with a view to selling it, but we've now got a state-of-the-art facility and a lot of capability to be able to help make products for other people. And then commercialization, we've got a great sales team. It might fit within our portfolio, we might sell it, we might not. Couple of examples, again, locally, we're talking about the West Midlands that I've worked on over the last 12 months that I'm just going to share with you. Now, these are in maternity. So professionally, you might be going, I'm not interested. Personally, this might resonate with some of you in the audience for a different reason. So this is two examples. So literally 12 months ago today, I was invited here to meet Professor Siobhan Quimby. So she specialises in early miscarriage. She's got an MBE that she'll get this year for her services to early miscarriage and miscarriage loss and helping the women that go through that difficult process. When I first met with her, she or her team, the early pregnancy unit here in UHCW, were giving ladies that were experiencing miscarriage sieves from Wilko. If any of you don't know who Wilko are, they kind of sell that, everything that you'd need for your kitchen and your home, from a spoon, to a hoover. They were buying sieves from Wilko to give to ladies that are going through a particularly difficult time to take home and collect the remains of a miscarriage. And that was uncomfortable. She thought we could do better. And I've heard you all say over the last couple of days, could we do better? This is a very different example, but it was somebody that was passionate about doing something better. So we sat down, we talked about her ideas, they'd got a concept, they'd got a problem, they'd got a solution, and they'd got a very early prototype. So what we did with Professor Quimby is we worked with her to bring that to life. We helped her with the regulatory elements of that product design. We supported with tooling, with prototype. We made the decision that actually we'll make that. And we took the tooling out to one of our manufacturing facilities and we now manufacture it. And then we also worked with her to create a brand, a message, a story. And we now are in the early phase of commercialization. So one of the areas Kim will focus on is maternity. So it's not surprising both of these areas come from maternity. So that's a product that we've taken from idea to commercialization. And it was a clinician that came to us. The other example is not dissimilar. So it's a gynecologist, works out of the University of Birmingham, so just up the road. And he does a lot of work with a charity called Amalife. And we talked yesterday about low income countries. He does a lot of work around the risk of childbirth in low income countries. I don't know whether any of you are aware, but there's some quite harrowing statistics for some of those countries, particularly across Africa, where young girls are more likely to die in childbirth than they are to receive an education. It's a little bit different in the UK, but postpartum hemorrhage, particularly after childbirth, is still a big issue. So they developed a drape, really simple drape, with a funnel that catches the blood. We've decided that actually that's something we could help with. We've commercialised the product and we've brought it to fruition. And every time we sell one, we'll donate back to that charity. So that's a couple of local examples. This is another one. And actually the reason I'm here, and I'm quite privileged to be able to share this with you. So not surprisingly, Jawad Loop. Jawad's got something to do with it. And he collared me in a corridor about 2 months ago and said, oh, will you come and present on this? And I knew nothing about it. And I was like, I don't know anything about the speciality. But I just want to share this with you. Early days, kind of that regulatory kind of conceptual phase, it's all patented, so don't get any ideas of kind of stealing it, but it's a little bit of what's to come. So I'm not going to talk about Pringle maneuver. We kind of all know what that is. We've done that. We've had a couple of mentions in the earlier talks today. But there is still a variety in practice, and it makes me smile that you're investing in millions of pounds worth of robot, but you're getting a Foley catheter and you're cutting it. I've seen Uchi cut it to this lovely length and they have a specific angle. It's not intended for that use. And from a manufacturer's perspective, that kind of starts to make me twitch. Could we do better? So Jared had a concept, he's had an idea, he's obviously very, very experienced. And what we've helped him to do is just bring that to fruition to help him on the journey. We're not quite there yet, but we're working on it. I'll let Jared maybe tell you over lunch or over coffee a little bit more about the product, but it works essentially like your Foley catheter. One of the kind of challenges somebody mentioned earlier was it slips, it gets a bit, you know, slippery when it gets wet. So the way that the product designed will overcome all of that. You can use the kind of sort of hub on the end, whether it's open procedure with your fingers, it can be grasped quite effectively with a laparoscopic instrument. And there's some really kind of novel ideas around the materials, the way it forms and the way it functions that help improve the efficiency of the product itself. So I think you can probably all kind of visualize how it's going to work. I'll just run this really quick animation. There was supposed to be some really jazzy music that we practiced earlier. Kind of lost it a little bit now. So hopefully that kind of, you know, helps bring it to life a little bit. In terms of applications, we talked a lot about liver surgery this morning, but there are other areas actually where we could take this device, and that makes it even more interesting as you start to look at the volumes of procedures and the number of clinicians that this product could help. So it's early days, kind of watch this space. So if you're interested, I'd say speak to Jared. I'm sure he'd love to hear your feedback. I'm sure if we get to prototype, you know, kind of clinical testing phases, some of you will be brought into that as well to kind of help us with some of that. But it's quite interesting and it's nice to kind of see innovation at the start. If you're interested in OCG, come talk to me. I'm wearing a green jacket for a reason, so you can't say, oh, I didn't see her, because I'll stand out in the crowd. But yeah, come talk to me. I work with a great team who'd love to come and support all of you and learn from you. So come and find me at lunch. And then for anybody out there, any budding entrepreneurs, get in touch. At the moment, it might be a pipe dream, but could Kimal help make that a reality? And could you have the next Jawad loop? And that was it. Thank you very much.